compare that to Donald Trump, because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt. Instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris last night, vowing to support the middle class while going after former President Trump and his economic plans during her speech at the DNC. Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey praised Harris's so-called price gouging plan.
The corporations say your prices are up only because their costs are up. They're selling you a lie. Prices are up because these corporations are scheming to drive them up. Most companies are good companies. It's the food conglomerates that sit behind the supermarkets, the faceless wholesalers. They're the ones who are extorting families at the checkout counter. This is greedflation.
No mention of the $7 trillion in spending by the Democrats, which led to 40-year high inflation. Harris's other economic proposals include expanding the child tax credit, housing credits, a 44.6% capital gains tax, and a 25% tax on unrealized gains. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation public finance economist EJ Antoni. EJ, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So what do you make of what we know so far of Kamala's economic plans?
Well, Maria, I think it just demonstrates the complete economic illiteracy of the folks on the radical left. And my goodness, corporations are really what's behind inflation. Please explain to me how corporations only become greedy when government decides to spend, borrow, and print trillions upon trillions of dollars it didn't have. As you said, how is it that corporations all of a sudden magically became greedy in January of 2021, more so than they had been at any point in the prior 40 years? Maybe it had something to do with the economic policies that these folks actually put in place at that time.
Well, look, she's not mentioning at all her $7 trillion in spending. But former President Trump has been mentioning it. He's slamming the Biden administration after the Labor Department revealed that there were 818,000 non-jobs that they claimed were created than previously reported. Trump said that the Biden-Harris administration wanted to hide the number as the election approaches. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with it yesterday, reporting that within the last year, native-born U.S. workers are losing jobs as foreign workers are gaining employment, EJ. You've got 1.27 million jobs created for people born outside of the United States and a decline of 1.2 million jobs for actual citizens. And that's separate and apart from the 818,000 jobs downward revisions that we got yesterday. What happened? Those jobs just did not exist, and they said that they existed in the last year.
Well, Maria, in terms of the native-born versus foreign-born disparity here, it has gotten so bad for Americans that there are actually fewer native-born folks working today than before the pandemic. So literally all of the net job growth that we have seen over the last 4 years has come from foreign-born workers. And the BLS even admits that this category includes an unknown number of illegal aliens. Now, in terms of this massive downward revision that we just got to the number of jobs, as you said, Maria, over 800,000. How on earth does something like this happen? It's the worst we've had since 2009 in terms of these huge revisions. Well, essentially, there are big problems at the Labor Department in terms of their statistical models and methodologies, and they have yet to address them. And I think the real scandal here is not so much a question of is someone cooking the books, but rather the fact that these problems have been evident since the spring of 2022, and the Labor Department has done nothing to correct these errors. And so the real question is, when is the Labor Department going to be held to account, and when are they going to explain to Congress and the American people what is going on and why they haven't fixed it yet?
EJ, you have an op-ed out titled "The Coming Recession May Have Already Arrived." You write this: left-leaning politicians promise the American people an economic panacea. If only the government could spend trillions of dollars we didn't have. The bill is coming due for years' worth of spending, and the price is steep. Tell us more about this key economic red flag that you're writing about.
Well, Maria, we are seeing new orders across the economy, across sectors really plummet. They've been declining for some time now. And for a while, it wasn't that big of a deal because they all spiked when the economy reopened during right after the COVID lockdowns. The problem is they have never stopped declining. And as prices continue to rise from all of the runaway spending, what has happened is consumers are essentially just tapped out. They've run out of pandemic-era savings. They've run out of any savings they had before the pandemic. Really, the only folks who have savings left anymore as a group are the top 10%. Americans have gone deeply into debt, and now as interest rates rise, again, as a result of all that runaway government spending, you are seeing consumers with massive debt loads and an increasing cost to service that debt. Think of this. Families are spending over $300 billion a year right now just in interest on their credit cards, not putting a dime towards principal. This has never happened before. We're seeing the exact same thing on the government side as well, with over $35 trillion in debt, fast approaching 36, $1.2 trillion a year just to service that bloated debt. And as a result, we are spending more and more money just on interest payments. Consumers are hitting a wall. They're finding increasingly hard to get additional credit to fuel their spending. And when you have these economic expansions that are really just credit binges, it all comes to an end eventually. And when it does, it's not pleasant.
Yeah, well, markets don't seem to be bothered by the $35 trillion in debt, do they, EJ?
No, they don't, but I think it's really important that we remember these things have to be adjusted for inflation. And even if you just want to use an official metric like the CPI, which frankly isn't very good, but let's just use that, you can knock off over 2/3 of the gains to the Dow over the last 3.5 years just by saying, well, this was clearly just inflation. It's not that these companies are worth more. It's that the dollar we're using to evaluate them is worth less. But I think if we want to use a more accurate metric, like gold, for example, let's deflate values according to how high gold has gotten. You can see an index like the S&P is literally flat over the last half century.
Yeah. Well, look, we know that Kamala Harris and the Democrats are trying to distance Kamala from the Biden-Harris administration policies, and she was the deciding vote and the tiebreaker for the Inflation Reduction Act, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and plenty of, other things that she supported, like green energy tax credits, which led to $7 trillion in spending. EJ, how do you get out of inflation now that we're in it after all of that spending? And they're not talking about any of that spending. In fact, many of her plans includes more spending, another $1.7 trillion in spending. So what is your assessment of her economic policy?
Oh, goodness, Maria, this is the equivalent of getting mugged one night and then the next day you find out that your assailant is going to be the one investigating the crime. She's essentially saying, if you give me 4 more years in Washington, on day one, I will address the problems that I caused on day one of my current term. It makes absolutely no sense, especially when you consider that everything she's promising to do is literally more of the same. I will put out this fire by throwing more gasoline on it. That's essentially the message from Harris at this point. I just can't make heads or tails of it. It makes no sense whatsoever. I will spend more. I will tax more. I will regulate more. That's essentially her agenda.
Yeah. All right, EJ, we'll keep watching it. Thanks so much for your insights on this. EJ Antoni joining us. Quick break.